I didn't think it was a big deal. That's what I keep trying to explain to everyone who judges me for what happened. I thought having a friends with benefits arrangement with my ex-boyfriend Jake didn't count as cheating. We weren't dating. We weren't romantic. We just occasionally had sex when we were both free and in the mood. I didn't think my husband would consider that real infidelity. I didn't realize he'd been tracking my location and knew exactly where I'd been going. I didn't know one casual comment about Jake being just a friend with benefits would trigger my husband to systematically remove every benefit from our marriage. I was catastrophically wrong about all of that. The arrangement itself seemed harmless to me, just sex with someone I had history with and trusted. Jake and I dated in college for 2 years, broke up amicably when we graduated and moved to different cities, stayed friendly, reconnected when he moved to the same city as me 5 years later. We'd meet up every few weeks, have drinks, catch up on life, sometimes end up at his apartment having sex, no emotions, no commitment, just physical connection with someone I was comfortable with. I was married, had been for 3 years. My husband Owen didn't know about Jake, didn't know that once or twice a month I'd text Jake, meet him for drinks, and end up at his place. I kept it separate from my real life. Didn't think it counted as cheating because Jake and I weren't dating, weren't in love, were just friends who occasionally had sex. Friends with benefits, not an affair. I was completely wrong about how Owen would see it. My name is Taylor. I'm 28 years old. I work as a social media manager at a marketing agency making good money. I've been married to Owen for 3 years, together for 5 total. We have a nice condo in the city. Normal life with 2 careers and busy schedules. Owen is a good husband overall. 30 years old, works as a software engineer making excellent money. Reliable, stable, treats me well. We have a comfortable marriage, or we did until 2 weeks ago when he found out about Jake and decided to systematically dismantle every benefit I received from being married to him. Jake is my age, 28, works in sales, single and not looking for anything serious. Perfect friends with benefits partner because he understood the boundaries. Never wanted more than physical. Never complicated things with emotions. Just someone I could text when I wanted sex without attachment or consequences. Or so I thought. The conversation that destroyed everything happened on a Saturday 2 weeks ago. Owen and I were having brunch with another couple, our friends Michelle and Jason. The conversation turned to a news story about a politician who'd been caught having an affair. It's always the same story, Michelle said. Married politician sleeps with someone else, gets caught, loses everything. Why do people risk their marriages for affairs? I think it depends on what you consider an affair, I said casually. If someone is just having casual sex with a friend, that's different from having an actual romantic affair. That's not really cheating. How is that not cheating? Jason asked. Because it's just physical, I explained. If there's no emotional connection, no dating, no romance, just sex between friends, that's different from an affair. That's more like friends with benefits, which isn't really betrayal of a marriage. Owen was staring at me. You think having sex with someone outside your marriage isn't cheating as long as you call them a friend with benefits? I think there's a distinction between physical and emotional betrayal, I said. Friends with benefits is just physical. It doesn't threaten the marriage because there's no emotional component. That's insane, Michelle said. Cheating is cheating. It doesn't matter if you have feelings or not. If you're married and sleeping with someone else, that's betrayal. I disagree, I said. I think context matters. Friends with benefits is just sex. Affairs involve emotions and relationships. They're different categories. Owen stood up. I need to use the bathroom. He left the table. Michelle, Jason, and I continued debating. But I felt uneasy. Something about Owen's reaction bothered me. The way he'd looked at me. The sudden need to leave the table. Owen came back 10 minutes later. Seemed calm. rejoined the conversation about other topics. We finished brunch, said goodbye to Michelle and Jason, drove home in silence. The moment we got inside our condo, Owen's demeanor completely changed. "We need to talk," he said coldly. "About what?" "About your opinion on friends with benefits. About how you think having sex with someone outside your marriage isn't cheating if you call them a friend. About Jake." My stomach dropped. "What about Jake?" "I know you've been seeing him," Owen said flatly. "I've known for 2 months. I installed tracking software on your phone after I noticed you were going to the same address in Brooklyn regularly. An address that's not your office, not your gym, not anywhere you'd have legitimate reason to be." I looked up the address. "It's Jake Thompson's apartment building. You've been there 17 times in the past 6 months. Always on weekday evenings or weekend afternoons. Always for 1 to 3 hours." I felt like the floor had dropped out. "You tracked my location?" "Yes," Owen said, "because you were acting suspicious, coming home late, being secretive with your phone. I suspected you were cheating, so I tracked you, and I found out you've been regularly visiting your college ex-boyfriend at his apartment. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from." "Owen, I can explain." "You just explained," Owen interrupted. "At brunch, you explained that you think having sex with someone isn't cheating if you call them a friend with benefits, that it's just physical, so it doesn't count as betrayal. You were defending what you've been doing with Jake, justifying sleeping with your ex-boyfriend while married to me." "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," Owen said. "You've been having sex with Jake, regularly, for at least 6 months based on the tracking data, probably longer. You kept it secret from me. You go to his apartment. You spend hours there. Then you come home and act like everything is normal. That's cheating. That's betrayal, no matter what you call it." "Jake and I are just friends." "Friends who have sex," Owen said. "Friends with benefits, just like you defended at brunch. You weren't speaking hypothetically. You were defending your actual situation, your actual affair with Jake. You think it doesn't count as cheating because you're not in love with him, but it's still betrayal." "Owen, please." "Here's what's going to happen," Owen said calmly. "You said friends with benefits don't count as cheating, that they're just physical without emotional connection. Fine. I'm going to treat our marriage the same way. I'm going to remove every benefit you get from being married to me. You'll be my wife legally, but you won't get any of the benefits that come with that. No emotional support, no financial support, no partnership, just the legal status, like friends with benefits, except you don't get benefits anymore." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I make $180,000 a year," Owen stated. "You make $65,000. Our lifestyle is subsidized significantly by my income. I pay 70% of our mortgage. I pay for our car. I pay for most of our vacations and entertainment. I pay for your gym membership and your phone plan. You benefit financially from being married to me. That ends now." "You're cutting me off financially?" "I'm removing the benefits," Owen corrected. "You'll be responsible for 50% of all household expenses going forward. 50% of the mortgage, 50% of utilities, 50% of everything. You'll pay for your own car insurance, phone, gym, entertainment. You'll contribute equally. No more benefits from my higher income." "That's not fair." "It's completely fair," Owen said. "You've been sleeping with Jake while enjoying the financial benefits of being married to me, while living in a condo you couldn't afford on your own, while driving a car I paid for, while using a phone plan I subsidize. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Now you don't get cake. You get equal responsibility with no benefits." "Owen, you're being cruel." "I'm being logical," Owen said. "You think friends with benefits is acceptable, that having sex without emotional connection isn't betrayal. So I'm removing emotional and financial connection from our marriage. You're still my wife legally. But you don't get benefits anymore. You pay your share. You handle your own emotional needs. You deal with your own problems. I'll be a roommate who happens to be legally married to you. That's all. You're ending our marriage. I'm restructuring it, Owen said, based on your own logic. You wanted to have sex with Jake while staying married to me. Fine. You can stay married to me. But without any of the benefits that made you want to stay married. Without my income supplementing your lifestyle. Without my emotional support. Without partnership. Just legal status. Like friends with benefits but without benefits. Just friends. This is insane. This is consequences, Owen said. You cheated on me with your ex-boyfriend. You justified it by saying friends with benefits don't count as betrayal. So I'm showing you what a marriage without benefits looks like. You'll find out very quickly what you're losing. He walked to our bedroom, started gathering his pillows and extra blankets. I'm moving into the guest room. We'll live like roommates, split everything equally, no shared finances beyond household expenses, no emotional intimacy, no partnership. You wanted to keep marriage and benefits separate. Now you have marriage without benefits. Over the next week, Owen systematically removed every benefit I'd received from being married to him. He sent me a detailed spreadsheet of household expenses. Your half of the mortgage is $1,850 per month. Your half of utilities is $150. Your half of internet and cable is $60. Your half of our HOA fees is $125. Total monthly household expenses, $2,185, due on the 1st of each month, Venmo or check, your choice. Owen, I can't afford that. Then you need to budget differently, Owen said. Or find a second job. Or move out. But if you want to keep living here, you pay your share. No more benefits from my income. He transferred the car insurance to my name. You're responsible for your own car insurance now, $180 per month, due to the insurance company directly. He removed me from his phone plan. You need your own phone plan, about $80 per month. You have 2 weeks to transfer your number, or the line gets cancelled. He cancelled my gym membership that he'd been paying for. Your gym membership was $120 per month. I've cancelled it. If you want to keep going, you need to sign up and pay for it yourself. He stopped planning or paying for date nights. If you want to go out to eat, you pay for yourself. If you want entertainment, you buy your own ticket. We're not a couple anymore. We're roommates. Roommates pay for themselves. Within 2 weeks, my monthly expenses had increased by over $2,500. I went from comfortably living on my $65,000 salary to barely scraping by. I had to cancel subscriptions, stop eating out, stop buying anything non-essential. My entire lifestyle changed because Owen removed the financial benefits I'd been receiving from our marriage. But the financial changes were nothing compared to the emotional withdrawal. Owen stopped talking to me beyond logistics. No good morning. No how was your day. No sharing meals or watching TV together. He came home from work, made his own dinner, ate in his room, worked on his laptop, went to bed. We lived in the same condo, but never interacted beyond passing each other in the hallway. When I tried to talk to him about anything personal, he shut me down. I'm not your emotional support anymore. That's a benefit you lost. If you need to talk about your feelings, call a friend, or call Jake since he's your friend with benefits. But I'm not available for that. When I tried to initiate physical intimacy, he refused. We're not having sex anymore. That's a benefit you forfeited when you decided to have sex with Jake. You wanted physical without emotional. You can get that from Jake, but not from me. You're punishing me. I'm removing benefits, Owen corrected every time. You wanted to separate physical from emotional. You wanted to keep the benefits of marriage while having benefits with Jake. Now you have neither. You have the legal status of marriage without any actual benefits. That's not punishment. That's logical consequence. Jas na chat sason, and our photos are nain too, did he on. And 3 weeks into this new arrangement, I was falling apart. The financial strain was intense. I'd had to sell my car because I couldn't afford the insurance and payments. Started taking the subway to work. Cut out all non-essential spending. Lived on a bare-bones budget that left no room for anything beyond survival. But worse was the emotional isolation. Living with someone who treated me like a stranger, who wouldn't talk to me, who wouldn't comfort me, who'd completely withdrawn all affection and connection. It was like living with a ghost of my husband while the real Owen had disappeared. I tried apologizing multiple times, tried explaining that I'd made a mistake with Jake, tried begging Owen to forgive me and restore our marriage. He listened without emotion and then repeated the same response. You said friends with benefits don't count as cheating, that physical without emotional isn't betrayal, so I removed emotional from our marriage. You get to experience what you gave Jake, physical space sharing without emotional connection, except you don't even get physical because you forfeited that. You wanted to separate components of relationships. Now you see what that looks like. My mother was horrified when I told her what was happening. Owen is making you pay half the expenses, even though he makes 3 times what you make. He says I no longer get the benefit of his income since I was cheating. You were cheating, my mother interrupted. You were sleeping with your ex-boyfriend. Owen has every right to protect his assets and withdraw support. You don't get to have an affair and still enjoy the benefits of marriage. It wasn't an affair. Jake was just what? Just someone you were regularly having sex with while married? My mother asked. That's an affair. That's cheating. It doesn't matter if you call it friends with benefits. You betrayed Owen. He's responding by showing you what you're losing. That seems completely reasonable. I can't afford to live like this. Then you should have thought about that before you started sleeping with Jake, my mother said. You enjoyed Owen's income while betraying him. Now you don't get to enjoy his income anymore. Those are just consequences. My friend Sarah was equally unsympathetic. You were sleeping with Jake for 6 months and Owen just found out, and now he's making you pay half of everything. He says I lost the benefits of being his wife. You did, Sarah said. You were having an affair. You can't have an affair and still expect your husband to subsidize your lifestyle. Owen is right to cut you off financially. You weren't treating him like a husband. Why should he treat you like a wife? Because we're married. Marriage comes with obligations, Sarah said. Like fidelity. You violated your obligations. So Owen is removing his. That's fair. That's what happens when you cheat. I didn't think friends with benefits counted as cheating. Then you were wrong, Sarah said bluntly. And now you're facing the consequences of being wrong. Owen is showing you what marriage looks like without benefits. How does it feel? It felt awful. It felt like losing everything that made marriage worthwhile, while still having the legal status that prevented me from moving on. Jake stopped responding to my texts after I told him what happened. Owen found out about us. He tracked my phone. He knows I've been coming to your apartment. Jake's response: That's not good. I think we should stop seeing each other. I don't want to be involved in your marriage problems. Good luck with everything. He blocked my number, blocked me on social media, completely cut me off. I'd lost my husband's support and my affair partner in the same week. 4 weeks into the new arrangement, I couldn't take it anymore. Owen, please. We need to talk about our marriage, about fixing this. I can't live like this. What do you want to talk about? Owen asked without emotion. About you forgiving me. About us working through this. About rebuilding our marriage. I'm not interested in rebuilding, Owen said. You cheated on me for at least 6 months, probably longer. You slept with your ex-boyfriend regularly while living in our home, using our resources, pretending to be a faithful wife. You defended your actions at brunch by saying friends with benefits don't count as cheating. You showed me exactly how you value our marriage. I was wrong. Yes, you were, Owen agreed. And now you're living with the consequences of being wrong. You wanted to have benefits with Jake while being married to me. Now you have neither. You're legally married but receiving no benefits. You don't have Jake anymore. You're alone with the reality of what you created. So we're just going to live like this forever? We're going to live like this until one of us files for divorce, Owen said. I'm not divorcing you immediately because I want you to fully understand what you're losing. I want you to experience every single day what marriage without benefits feels like. I want you to struggle financially. I want you to feel emotionally isolated. I want you to realize that all the comfort and security you had came from me, and that you threw it away for casual sex with your ex-boyfriend. That's cruel. That's educational, Owen corrected. You didn't understand what you had. You took it for granted. You thought you could have an affair and still enjoy being married. Now you understand that being married without benefits is just a legal status that makes you miserable. That's the lesson you needed to learn. When will you divorce me? When I'm satisfied you've learned what you lost, Owen said. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe longer. You had your affair for at least 6 months, so you can experience this arrangement for at least that long. You wanted to separate physical from emotional. Now you're experiencing complete separation of everything. Enjoy it. 5 weeks in, I was barely surviving. My paychecks went entirely to expenses. I had no savings, no buffer, no money for anything beyond bills and basic groceries. I'd had to cancel my gym membership, my streaming services, my subscription boxes. Everything non-essential was gone. I ate cheap meals, wore old clothes, stopped socializing because I couldn't afford to go out. My life had become work, home, sleep, repeat, all while living with a husband who treated me like I didn't exist. I tried reaching out to Jake one more time, sent him an email explaining how badly things had gone with Owen, how much I missed him, how I needed someone to talk to. Jake responded, I told you I don't want to be involved in this. What we had was casual. It was fun while it lasted, but I'm not getting in the middle of your marriage disaster. Please don't contact me again. I'd lost everything. My husband's support, my affair partner, my comfortable lifestyle, my financial security, my emotional well-being, all because I'd thought having a friend with benefits while married wasn't really cheating. My therapist tried to help me process what was happening. Owen has essentially removed himself from your marriage while keeping you legally bound to him. How does that make you feel? Trapped, miserable, hopeless. Do you understand why he's doing this? My therapist asked. Because I cheated with Jake. Because you didn't value what you had, my therapist said. You took Owen's financial support for granted. You took his emotional support for granted. You assumed you could have an affair and still enjoy being married. Owen is showing you what you actually valued, not him as a person, but the benefits he provided, the comfort, the security, the lifestyle. I did value him, but you valued him less than you valued having sex with Jake, my therapist said. You made that choice repeatedly for 6 months. You chose physical gratification with your ex over fidelity to your husband. Now Owen has removed everything you were actually valuing, the benefits, and left you with just the legal status. He's teaching you what you really lost. It's cruel. Is it? My therapist asked. Or is it appropriate consequence? You had your cake and ate it too for 6 months. Now you have no cake at all. That's not cruelty. That's balance. You took from Owen while giving to Jake. Now you give to Owen your half of expenses while getting nothing back. That mirrors what you did to him. She was right. I'd been taking from Owen while giving my time and attention to Jake. Now I was experiencing the reverse, giving money to Owen while getting nothing back. It was exactly what I'd done to him. 6 weeks into the arrangement, Owen filed for divorce. Served me papers at the condo. I'm ready to end this now. You've lived without benefits long enough to understand what you lost. Now we can make it official. You're divorcing me? Yes, Owen said. I've consulted with a lawyer. Since you were having an affair, we have clear grounds for fault-based divorce. You won't get any spousal support. We'll divide assets fairly, but you won't get any ongoing financial benefit from having been married to me. What about the condo? The condo is in my name, Owen said. I bought it before we got married. You have no claim to it. You'll need to find your own apartment and move out within 60 days. That's what the lawyer recommended. Where will I live? That's your problem, Owen said. You should have thought about that before you started sleeping with Jake. You enjoyed living in this condo while having your affair. Now you get to find your own place that you can actually afford on your salary. The divorce proceeded quickly. No fault with clear evidence of adultery. I didn't contest anything because I had no money for a lawyer. Owen's lawyer handled everything efficiently. We divided our limited shared assets. I got my personal belongings and half of our joint savings, about $8,000. Owen kept the condo, his car, his retirement accounts that predated the marriage. I moved into a small studio apartment in a less desirable neighborhood, all I could afford on my salary. Furnished it with second-hand furniture and basics from IKEA. It was depressing and lonely, but it was all I could manage. I said friends with benefits don't count as cheating. My husband removed the benefits, and I learned that having sex with someone outside your marriage is betrayal regardless of what you call it. That spouses who discover affairs will remove support. That living without the benefits of marriage while still being legally married is its own kind of hell. That you can't have an affair and still enjoy being married to someone else. That consequences include losing every benefit you took for granted. Owen is moving on, dating someone new according to mutual friends. Someone who presumably understands that friends with benefits while married is still cheating. Someone who values him for more than the lifestyle he provides. Jake is still single and uninterested in me, blocked me everywhere, moved on completely from our casual arrangement, and I'm alone in my studio apartment, struggling to make rent, living paycheck to paycheck, dealing with the long-term consequences of thinking I could separate physical from emotional, of thinking friends with benefits didn't threaten my marriage, of believing I could have everything without losing anything. 8 months after Owen found out, I'm still rebuilding, still struggling financially, still single, still carrying the reputation of someone who cheated on her husband with her ex-boyfriend and called it just friends with benefits. I said, friends with benefits don't count as cheating. My husband removed all the benefits I got from being married to him and showed me exactly what I'd lost. Then he divorced me and moved on while I'm still trying to survive on my own in a studio apartment I can barely afford. That's my story. That's my consequence. That's what happens when you think you can redefine cheating to suit your situation. When you believe having sex outside your marriage doesn't count if you call it something else. When you take for granted everything your spouse provides while betraying them with someone from your past. O shikisyo alatra. Sharamai. 10 months after Owen filed for divorce, I was still processing how completely my life had fallen apart. The small studio apartment felt like a cage. 400 square feet in a neighborhood I'd never wanted to live in. Sirens at night, loud neighbors, no dishwasher or laundry in unit. Everything I'd taken for granted when living in Owen's condo was gone. My financial situation remained dire. My $65,000 salary covered rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, and not much else. I had to budget every purchase carefully. No eating out, no shopping, no entertainment that cost money. I'd gone from comfortable to barely surviving because Owen had been subsidizing most of my lifestyle, and I hadn't realized it until he stopped. My mother visited the studio once, looked around with barely concealed disappointment. This is quite a change from the condo. It's all I can afford. This is what you can afford on your actual salary, my mother corrected. The condo was what you could afford when Owen was paying 70% of the mortgage and most of your other expenses. This is your real financial level. You just didn't know it because Owen was supporting you while you were cheating on him with Jake. I know I messed up. You didn't just mess up, my mother said. You had a 6-month affair with your college ex-boyfriend. You came home to Owen after having sex with Jake and acted like everything was normal. You took Owen's money and emotional support while giving your time and attention to another man. That's not messing up. That's sustained betrayal. I thought friends with benefits was different. There's no such thing as friends with benefits when you're married, my mother said firmly. There's only cheating. You convinced yourself it was different because Jake was from your past and you weren't dating him. But you were still having sex with someone outside your marriage. That's adultery, regardless of what label you put on it. Owen was cruel in how he handled it. Owen was strategic, my mother corrected. He could have just divorced you immediately. Instead, he showed you exactly what you were losing. He removed every benefit you got from being married to him while keeping you legally bound. He made you experience the reality of your financial situation. He taught you what you'd taken for granted. That's not cruelty. That's education. It felt like punishment. It was consequences, my mother said. You punished Owen by cheating. He showed you consequences by removing support. Those are different things. You chose to have an affair. He chose to protect himself. Don't confuse those. Work became increasingly difficult as co-workers learned about my situation. Someone had seen my social media posts about the divorce. Word spread quickly through the office that I'd been caught having an affair and my husband had kicked me out. My boss called me in 6 months after the divorce. I need to address something that's affecting team dynamics. Several colleagues have expressed discomfort working with you after learning about your personal situation. My divorce is my private business. Your affair became office knowledge, my boss said. People know you were seeing someone while married. That creates trust issues. Colleagues wonder if you'll maintain appropriate boundaries in professional relationships. It's affecting your ability to collaborate effectively. So I'm being judged for my personal life at work. You're being held accountable for behavior that reveals character issues, my boss said. Having an affair shows poor judgment and boundary problems. Those are relevant to professional trust. Several people have requested not to work closely with you on projects. I need to accommodate those requests. So my career is being damaged. Your career is experiencing natural consequences of your choices, my boss said. You made decisions in your personal life that reflected poorly on your judgment. That affects how people view your professional credibility. That's not unfair. That's reality. I was effectively sidelined at work, given fewer important projects, excluded from key meetings. My career trajectory stalled because people didn't trust me after learning I'd had an affair. My friends from college had mixed reactions when they learned what happened. Some were sympathetic, others judgmental. Most fell somewhere in between. My friend Rachel tried to be understanding. So you were seeing Jake casually and Owen found out. Owen tracked my phone, found out I'd been going to Jake's apartment regularly. Then, at brunch, I defended friends with benefits, and Owen realized I was talking about myself. You defended having affairs while married? Rachel asked, shocked. I said friends with benefits is different from affairs. It's not different when you're married, Rachel said. When you're married, any sexual relationship outside the marriage is infidelity. It doesn't matter if you call it friends with benefits or casual sex or anything else. It's still cheating. I didn't see it that way at the time. Because you were rationalizing your behavior, Rachel said. You wanted to have sex with Jake without feeling guilty. So you convinced yourself it didn't count as cheating because you weren't in love with him. But Owen saw through that rationalization immediately. He destroyed my life. He removed his support after you betrayed him, Rachel corrected. He showed you what your life looks like without him subsidizing it. That's not destroying your life. That's revealing what your life actually is when you're not benefiting from someone you're betraying. My father, who'd been silent about the situation for months, finally called. Your mother told me about your living situation, about the studio apartment and financial struggles. Owen left me with nothing. Owen stopped giving you everything, my father corrected. There's a difference. You were living well above your means because Owen's income subsidized your lifestyle. When he removed that subsidy, you returned to your actual financial level. That's not him leaving you with nothing. That's you discovering what you have on your own. He could have been more generous in the divorce. You had an affair, my father said bluntly. You don't get generosity after betrayal. You get fairness. Owen was fair. He gave you half the shared assets. He didn't owe you ongoing financial support after you cheated. You're living at your actual standard of living now. That's appropriate. I'm barely surviving. Because you make $65,000 a year and live in an expensive city, my father said. That's reality for millions of people. You just didn't experience that reality when you were married to Owen because he was supporting you. Now you're experiencing real life. Welcome to what everyone else deals with. You're not being very supportive. I'm being honest, my father said. You made terrible choices. You had an affair with your ex-boyfriend. You justified it with nonsense about friends with benefits. You got caught. You lost the comfortable life you had. Those are consequences. I'm not going to pretend you're a victim when you're just facing the natural results of your actions. Dating was impossible. I tried apps, but every first date ended the same way. Eventually the divorce would come up. I'd admit it was because I'd had an affair. The person would lose interest immediately. One date was particularly brutal. So you were sleeping with your college ex while married, and you thought that didn't count as cheating. I thought friends with benefits was different. That's insane, he said. You were married. Having sex with anyone else is cheating. The label doesn't matter. The fact that you thought you could redefine infidelity to suit yourself is a huge red flag. I've learned from the experience. Have you? He asked skeptically. Or do you still think you were treated unfairly by your ex-husband? Because if you think Owen was cruel for cutting you off financially, you haven't learned anything. He was protecting himself from someone who was betraying him. That's smart, not cruel. He left before we'd even ordered food, left me sitting alone understanding that my reputation made me undateable. Owen's social media showed him thriving. New girlfriend, vacations, happy photos. He'd moved on completely and was building a life with someone new. Someone who presumably understood that marriage required fidelity. I saw him once at a coffee shop near his office, 14 months after he'd filed for divorce. He was with a woman, professional-looking, attractive, laughing at something he'd said. They looked comfortable together, happy. He saw me, made brief eye contact, nodded once in acknowledgement, then turned back to his girlfriend and continued their conversation. Dismissed me completely. That hurt more than anything. The realization that I'd been completely replaced, that Owen had found someone better and moved on without any apparent difficulty, that I'd meant so little to him once he discovered my betrayal that he'd removed me from his life and filled the space immediately. My therapist worked with me on accepting responsibility for what I'd done and its consequences. You still seem to think Owen was punishing you by removing financial support. Can you understand why that framing is problematic? Because it minimizes what I did. Because it makes you the victim, my therapist said. Owen wasn't punishing you. He was protecting himself and teaching you about consequences. You had been taking his financial support while betraying him sexually and emotionally. He removed the support. That's not punishment. That's appropriate boundary setting. It destroyed my lifestyle. It revealed your actual lifestyle, my therapist corrected. Your lifestyle when you were married wasn't sustainable on your income alone. It required Owen's contribution. When you betrayed him, you lost access to that contribution. That's not destruction, that's natural consequence. How do I rebuild from here? By accepting that this is your starting point, my therapist said. You're 28, single, making $65,000 in an expensive city, living in a studio apartment. Those are facts. You can work on increasing your income. You can work on rebuilding your reputation. You can work on becoming someone who makes better choices. But first, you have to stop seeing yourself as a victim of Owen's cruelty and start seeing yourself as someone experiencing appropriate consequences for serious betrayal. 18 months after Owen discovered my affair with Jake, I was still struggling but slowly improving. I'd gotten a small raise at work. was saving a bit each month. Had started therapy to address the rationalizations that led me to think having a friend with benefits while married was acceptable. But I was still alone, still living in the studio, still carrying the reputation of someone who'd cheated on her husband and tried to justify it with semantics. Still facing social and professional judgment, still understanding that one choice, defending friends with benefits at brunch, had triggered the investigation that revealed my affair and ended my marriage. I said friends with benefits don't count as cheating. My husband removed the benefits from our marriage and showed me what I'd actually valued. Then he divorced me and moved on while I'm still trying to rebuild a life without the financial and emotional support I'd taken for granted.